Hi there. My name is Kay Moon, and I'm a Western astrologer and twin flame channel. And this is a video about the Capricorn New Moon taking place on January 18th at 2:51 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, definitely check a time zone converter for your local time. Few quick announcements for total one of four. There are three sessions available next week, 1 hour sessions if you're feeling guided to get a look at the year ahead and money, love, school, health, family, travel, all of that work. This year has a lot of momentum out of the gate and some very challenging aspects as we get past June, mainly being everything retrograde all at the same time, but we'll deal with that when we get there. For now, it's go time. And if you need any help knowing how to go, which way to go, what to go on that's right for you, booking a reading is a great way to get that insight. The details are always in our chart to get into our highest alignment. You can book with me over at kmoonastro.com. Link is in the description box below. There are some asteroid interactions. This is announcement number 2 for this particular new moon. There are asteroids that are speaking to the new moon here at the 28th degree of Capricorn that I am choosing not to speak to for this new moon. The reason I'm doing that is because this new moon is packed with planetary aspects that are from the standard planets. And if I were to include all of the asteroids speaking to this new moon, things would get unwieldy. This is already going to be a long lunar update, so buckle up. There's a lot going on, and I want to cover it thoroughly so you understand what's happening, why it's happening, and what to do with it. Asteroids will be left out. And next, in the past years, I've hosted others on my YouTube channel to share their work with this community. But I also see now how the collective can be supported by astrological guidance, given how tempestuous of a time we are in the middle of. Lots of change. It's not going to let up anytime soon. So if you have a podcast, YouTube channel, Twitch or TikTok, and you know someone who does, and you or they are willing to make an introduction so that I can support their content stream with some astrological tips, insights, and guidance, please let me know. I'd love to share some content with your subscribers to support their 2026 journey and beyond. Just email me at chrysalismoon@gmail.com and we can set something up. Lastly, the first look component taking us into the Aquarius full moon will be at the end of this video. If you happen to like that segment, it has returned and I would love to share it with you. So stay tuned till the end. Question of the day for the intro squad. I love that so many of you actually listen to these introductions. Thank you for taking the time to do that. It means the world to me because I know YouTube has changed to such a degree where sharing things in the post section doesn't always show up in some of your feeds. Not all of you are on my email list. So these introductions are the way for me to share important details with you. And I want to get to know you. I'd love to share a little bit more about me with you. So here's our question. If you had a nemesis planet or one that's your favorite, which planet is it and why? I want to know, I want to know, I want to know. Personally, if you know me, I have a love-hate-love relationship with Neptune. On the one hand, I love all the spiritual insights, the access to psychic energy, the intuition, the imagination that comes with Neptune. I also love Neptune's position in my chart, like my ability to channel and get info I need when I need it. It's pretty bonkers. But I loathe that when a Neptune transit hits anything in my chart, trying to get the benefit of that planet, the house it governs, or the house it's transiting through, it is like trying to grab a fistful of water. It just slips through my fingers until I can have a relationship to it that has nothing to do with need or desire. I am so glad that Neptune has finished with my Pisces stellium because, whoo, them years taught me spiritual impermanence and unconditionality, but bless, I am over it because the third dimension does not operate like that. My landlords don't operate like that. My need for food doesn't operate like that. My need for stability does not operate like that. Like, I need groundedness in the third dimension. So I am so grateful Neptune's done with Pisces because I have a lot of planets in Pisces. So now you tell me. And if you have a love relationship with any planet, tell me, why do you love it? What have you noticed with it? That's today's question. I would love to hear it. Let's get into this Capricorn new moon because boy, is it coming with the pressure. It is coming with the heat. Capricorn new moon, 28 degrees Capricorn. It is conjunct Mercury and Mars just prior to it, and Venus, Pluto, and Vesta just after it. We're going to start with Mercury and Mars, and we're going to take everything one step at a time. This energy is mind and action happening simultaneously with speed and momentum. And whew, that can be a lot depending upon how you're built or the people you're around are built. But this is speed and momentum. It is in the light. This energy during a new moon is swift action and implementation for new ideas. And at a Capricorn new moon, new structures. This is the kind of energy that allows clarity to become decisiveness, um, which can then turn into action that yields real world results in record time. Speed is the name of the game here. Quick to act, quick to impact. The ability to think on our feet, respond in real time, and use fast twitch reflexes will be on high at this full moon with an immediate felt effect. Think fast volley tennis, if you will. That said, in the shadow, this energy, it's going to be important to intentionally slow things down because the default is going to be speed. Where you're being asked to move in a misaligned direction for you, it's going to be really important that you don't go along to get along, that you slow it down. The bookends of this particular new moon being Pluto, which is power, confrontation with fear, and Mars in shadow, that's God of war. This is endings and death. This is, war and like strong arming. It's toxic masculinity. Those are in shadow. They both have light manifestations. So let's not make good guys and bad guys out of Mars and Pluto. But with both of these bookending, the new moon energy here in Capricorn, uh, this can cause us to feel strong-armed or cause us to steamroll others into an incongruent action that can have unexpected results due to the influence from Uranus over here, that we're going to talk about in a moment. Think board members agreeing that the CEO needs to step down and an organizational coup happening overnight, this sort of thing. In a more microcosmic and personalized way, this energy allows us to swiftly take action on anything that's been lingering for an extended period of time. You're going to feel a heavy energy of get it done now, 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 now. It is go time for all of us. And this can be used toward anything that benefits the structure of our lives. Now, again, the key word is structure since this is happening in the sign of Capricorn. Think tightening up that resume and contacting a recruiter or applying for jobs, cleaning out that garage and getting rid of what no longer serves so there's room for new. Think making those phone calls and finding those investors for your business. These kinds of things that allow our life to move forward rapidly once done are what this new moon is indicating we're meant to get in action around. It may be really hard to sleep with this kind of energy in the atmosphere. So trust your rhythm rather than forcing hard absolutes and trying to stick with a schedule that will get ripped to shreds in this kind of energy. It may be beneficial to surf this energy. Use less sleep now while this energy is active. I'm not saying doom scroll. That's not what I'm saying. So, those of you who stay up all night and scroll and scroll and scroll through TikTok looking at UK moon, instead use this energy to do something that's actually going to benefit you. Okay. Um, it may be, like I said, beneficial to surf this, but for those of you who know schedule disruption completely undermines productivity and functionality for you, then I'm going to encourage you to be prepared to take extra steps to stay on schedule, given that this energy is going to be pushy, it's going to be demanding, and it's going to want to see you execute even if it's 3 a.m. It's very much a you can sleep when you're dead kind of vibe, which it's good for those who struggle with procrastination, but it can be a challenge for those who need the energy to like stay on a particular schedule and rhythm in their life. Okay. Now, let's clear that up. I want to talk about now instead of that was Mercury Mars over here. Now we're going to talk about Venus and Pluto over here in Aquarius, also conjunct this new moon with a little wisp of Vesta there as well. Vesta is just concentrating this energy. The Venus Pluto conjunction highlights an intense and dramatic pull, magnetism, chemistry. Let's address love first, then we're going to talk about money. In love, this aspect in connection with a new moon can indicate an intense love connection appearing or one that is in existence, deepening dramatically quickly. Like one conversation, boom, the entire thing changes overnight. This is an aspect that speaks to an instant and deep bond that is powerful, unavoidable, and inexplicable. Events with others at this new moon can have a sense of feeling fated or karmic or destined, as these two are conjunct a new moon. This is indicative of the beginning of a path that must be played out between the people involved, one that has a lot of energetic movement to it. With the abundance of cardinal energy, we have a lot of placements here in cardinal signs. I will also add we are pre-eclipse for a solar eclipse in Aquarius, and we're already in the window of impact, greatest impact in particular. It's coming up here in February. That solar eclipse is meant to charge new beginnings for us, and it will be at resonant degrees with this new moon in Capricorn if you use a loose orb. That being said, pay attention to the people that show up at this time. They are, in fact, scheduled in some sort of way. That doesn't mean they're destined, that just means they're scheduled. Just because you're scheduled to go to the dentist and see about a root canal doesn't mean you're destined to get one. You kind of get what I'm saying is the distinction here. Let's not run away with ourselves. Let's stay calm. Let's stay focused. Let's take it one piece at a time. Okay. There can be some indication here as well of imbalanced power dynamics between yourself and another person that has significant emotional cost to one or both of you. Should manipulation, coercion, or control, shadow sides of Pluto, become part of the way you handle intense emotions. Rather than deal with my emotions, I'm going to deal with and manage you. I recall issuing a warning with the first look portion of this new moon at the last lunar update. If you know you have someone who cannot self regulate, regularly crosses boundaries, in particular, if you have someone in your world you might classify as a stalker, this is the new moon energy to take extra precautions with your surroundings, put your own safety first. and be very mindful of the situations you're putting yourself in. I'm not saying live a smaller life. I'm saying be particularly cautious now. This new moon energy can be very stimulating to people who lack self-regulation. Okay? And if that's someone you already know what you need to do. I just said it. Now, concerning more general interpersonal relationships, this is where we can see power struggles playing out between friends and colleagues in particular. If needs, which are the moon, desires, which are Venus, and personalities, which are the sun, Venus, needs, sun, desires, needs, personalities, all of that, they're all sitting tightly together there, are not self-regulated. If you and others are working well together, this can be an extraordinary period of productivity where it's like everything just syncs up and you're all on the same page as a team. This is where you can break down the walls that stalled previous progress. Please use this to your advantage. I mentioned as we closed out last year that we have been in and are now and will continue to be into the beginning of February a period of hyper productivity and momentum that began back in November and continued into December and now January. That energy continues with this new moon, so be sure to use it if you know you need it. Okay? In shadow, the strain that these three can put on the system between people can have adverse effects if the needs, the desires, and the personalities between people are at odds. This is where we can see implosions and explosions that cause a complete breakdown of working relationships. Now, if this has happened, it's because one of the following is true. There's something about the interpersonal system and the power dynamics that has to be rewritten. It can no longer continue to exist as is. There must be a completely new approach to the working relationship if the relationship is to continue at all. Alternatively, this is where the working relationship ends altogether. It was meant to end last year, but it needed more pressure to break because the personalities involved were strong enough to forbear either manipulation, imbalanced workloads, unequal accountability and responsibility, or use emotional and mental labor to cope with outdated systemic structures. This new moon provides the pressure required to break the system that was already barely holding on by the grace of the humans propping it up and forces all parties involved to find new solutions and paths forward without each other. In both cases, where these energies manifest in difficulty rather than productivity, a major closing out and change, a new path opening was inevitable at this time. Okay? Now, moving to the macro. Let me just pause there 1 second before I go on to the macro picture. That's the interpersonal dynamic, but I want to speak to the macro in a moment. One thing I want to make sure I say about this, there are times and seasons where working through things with other people is meant to unfold. We are in different seasons of life meant to be working and maturing ourselves and figuring out new ways of working together. We're not in that season right now. This new moon, and not even just this new moon, but the majors, I call them the major planets changing signs and the ways that they have are in communication with one another, that this isn't about personal development and growth when breakdowns are happening. This is actually about moving across life's chessboard and positioning yourself in environments where there's greater alignment. There are seasons for growth, there are seasons for realignment. This is a season for realignment. So I want to speak to that so that any of you who are in this sort of circumstance now can really check in with your own discernment and know if you needed permission to close this out and go, permission granted. The universe, God's stars here, they see you. Move. Get yourself where you need to be, where alignment is there for you. Now, moving to the macro, the big picture, where more general collective interactions are concerned. This is an energy, this Venus Pluto thing conjunct this particular new moon from these two signs, Venus and Pluto in Aquarius, revolution and change. New moon at the final degrees of Capricorn, structure, the institution, the old guard. This is an energy where you may feel a powerful contention between the old and the new guard, doing things the so called right way and the way that quote unquote works, and contention between institutions and the people's needs. This can apply to governments and their constituents or protesters, corporations and unions, school boards and students and families, etc. You get the idea. It's important to remember that Pluto, the sign of power, or the planet of power, right here, looks like this. Pluto is now in the sign of the people, that's Aquarius, and it's going to remain here for 20 years. Well, like 19 and a half at this point, but yeah, he ain't going nowhere anytime soon. As such, the astrological energy is on the side of breaking down structures that only serve institutions at the expense of the people within them or impacted by them. The events unfolding now will either immediately serve the people or catalyze the people to activate events that turn outcomes in their favor. Even if the events that we see play out over the course of this new moon seem to serve the institutions in the short term, Pluto, having left the sign of institutions, took power with it. It took power away from institutions and put it in the hands of the people. That's the era we are in now. Okay. In all cases, this aspect breeds the contention that sparks motivation, momentum, and movement. And this can serve us if we understand what it's supporting us to do. Now, those are our dominant aspects as part of a conjunction to the new moon, but there are some others that are fairly influential as well. They're dominant because they're conjunct, but there are others that are in tighter orb to that 28 degrees and looser orb, but are also speaking well enough that we need to communicate, we need to talk about them as well. Next one is sextile from Neptune and Saturn at the 27th and 29th degree here of Pisces. This has been an ongoing corrective energy preparing us for the collectivism, the collective energetic that's coming in with the North Node in Aquarius later this year. The North Node is moving into Aquarius. Pluto power is already there. And so with the North Node, which is the direction of collective growth, moving into the sign of collectives and groups and communities, recognizing that we are all part of one global community. There's a lot of emphasis being placed on us being one people here on Earth. Okay. The call to consideration, sensitivity to others, greater self alignment, self regulation, self awareness on our personal needs, and then the impact we have on others as we fulfill those things peaks in this energy. The veil between ourselves and others is very thin. The illusion that we are somehow separate, that I can get mine and not pay attention to the impact on you, is waning. This new moon highlights that with this aspect in particular in the light, it's assisting us with coming up with win-win solutions. Now, here's an example. Solutions that are best for the client, the business, and the person who works in the business. Alternatively, what's best for the child, parent one and parent two. And even alternative to that, what's best for the ex, the new spouse, and you, where there has been some form of strong arming or disproportionate benefit to one party or two parties that compromise others. This energy has been working overtime since the end of 2023 to reorganize dynamics between people and between systems or collapse the system in entirety due to the influence of Pluto and also Uranus in play at this time. Pluto and Uranus are working together on this. Now, I know it doesn't seem like what I'm telling you is true, but trust me, the volume raising on the old clinging with a vice-like grip onto its original power, it is going, but this particular energy of contention is precisely what's needed to wake everybody up so that everybody can usher in the new era. The root of this energy is self-correction. Seeing the impact of personal imbalance is going to be inescapable at this time, as feelings of self-erasure, thwarted agency, and disassociation will occur for those who are being compromised by people or systems benefiting from your compromise. And those who are doing the compromising, possible interior guilt or shame, loudly signaling the need for accountability and rectification. Seeing others either removing themselves from connection with you and removing themselves from systems set up to facilitate their oppression and others' benefit, this is going to collapse. Okay? It's also indicative of personal choices that are blind to negative interpersonal impact. That is a no longer a sustainable way of doing life here on earth. This is corrective on both sides as an aspect. And at this new moon, you may see a peak in this energy's influence on your interactions with others or the emotional impetus for change. You may also see a spike in collective responses to the call for change at this time. It just keeps getting louder. Even though this new moon is a new beginning in the sign of structure, meaning the structure, the institutions, they get the new beginning, the power lives in the hands of people. It's really important to understand that Pluto and Uranus and Saturn and Neptune, they're working overtime to rewrite structures that don't serve all of us. Our participation in that rewrite is important. We also see this new moon in square to Chiron and Eris in Aries, which I've been on about for a long time. If you're familiar and you already know and you found this particular piece or anything I've said so far resonant, definitely hit that like button. It really helps with circulation of the content. Share this with a friend. Let me know in the comments if it's helpful, all of that good stuff, so that the algorithm can share this with the right people. This square from Chiron in Aries and Eris in Aries to this new moon brings the influence of deep insecurity into the mix, which supports the aspect that we just talked about with Saturn and Neptune. This energy is meant to help us separate from places where we don't belong and find places where we do. It's meant to make us insecure enough to be uncomfortable enough to move. It's an energy that's designed to sensitize us to rejection or abandonment, feeling like we don't fit. It's meant to move us along to the places where we do and find alignment in the places where it's accessible, even if for now that alignment is with ourselves and ourselves alone. For many, it will be. For some, that's a necessary recalibration before re-entering community or recreating chosen family in an entirely new way with new people. Now, additionally, for those who have been in codependent dynamics for a long time, this new moon that includes this aspect so prominently, as many new and full moons have in the last 6 months, you've heard me talking about it a lot. Of you who have been here, this is helping us to finally stop participating in our own self-sacrifice through riling up the rage needed to make a different choice, realign to our needs and desires. and our sovereignty instead of someone else's. Now, in shadow, because everything has light and shadow and neutrality, it's never just one way. I want to acknowledge that there are many who are using this energy, this Chiron and Eris in Aries placement. There are those who are using this energy to play victim, who truly are not victims. You may have seen that in your personal relationships. You decided to stand up for yourself or state and enforce a boundary, and suddenly you're the bad guy. You're the problem in a family system, work dynamic, friendship group, community, your church, masjid, or temple. I hope I said that correctly. Or your school. You're the one getting sanctioned and punished. We're even seeing this socioculturally and geopolitically. I think I actually looked it up. I think it's pronounced masjid. Yes. Tell me if I said it correctly for those of you who attend masjids. Um, this isn't a balanced or fair setup. Entire groups of people are now saying, hey, this isn't right. It compromises our access to resources and right to life, like clean water or air or education or shelter, or my right to honor my personal beliefs in religion, my physical autonomy and freedom to move about the world in safe ways. This compromises my country's resources because you're insisting that I or we live our lives your way when I don't have your life or access to alternatives or your resources. But the people standing up for themselves are the ones bearing the consequences. So the groups benefiting from their compromise can continue to sustain power. I know I don't have to mention specifics, but y'all know what I'm talking about with a very specific set of files, a very specific country who recently had their leader kidnapped, it's everywhere. It's rampant. And so collectively, this Chiron and Eris and Aries thing, I know no one's talking about it. I know no one thinks it's a big deal, but it is a big deal. It is a huge deal, especially when it's manifesting in shadow, because it's what causes people who have all the power to feel like they have none and then take it out on everyone else. And so if you're moving through that in your personal life stream with family, with work, with coworkers, if you are moving through that, this is the moment to, first of all, acknowledge alignment is no longer here and it's time for a change. And then, second of all, really shore up where alignment is and place yourself where you need to be. Okay. Ultimately, that sort of imbalanced power dynamic and then playing victim, what this does is exacerbate the situation, and it only further serves to expose the imbalance, thereby helping to break the agreements that have once served one side but not both. It does this through highlighting extremes in a loud enough way that they're unignorable to onlookers. It's compelling those who are witnessing to take a stand. And what's happening here is a massive correction that serves to foster our collective movement toward a more fair, more just, more equitable collective arrangement that honors us all, not just some or one. And this is unfolding in family dynamics, friendship dynamics, colleague dynamics at work, community connections, as well as at the state, institutional, and governmental levels. So if this year, we ain't even done with the first month. Oh my God. And last year have felt extremely polarizing. That's by design. It's meant to help us not look away from systems that erode sovereignty of some, so and empowerment for few, so that collectively we can work together for the sovereignty and empowerment of all. This plus the Saturn Neptune aspect right here, as we were just talking about, This plus that Saturn and Neptune aspect, these are the activating influences for the sidelined, the compromised, the underdogs, and the oppressed to say enough. This Saturn Neptune aspect is the activating influence for those who don't understand why the system is changing, why people in their lives are changing. They don't get why circumstances are shifting to finally be sensitized enough themselves to culpability and unfairness, even if they feel victimized for being called out and don't know how to change. Yet, this energy is helping to sensitize people to make new choices. So, all in all, it's moving us in the right direction. But sometimes, until the most comfortable person in the room is made uncomfortable, it's difficult for the room to change. And since we're all stuck here on this giant space rock called Earth, we're going to figure this out together. Okay, which is going to be a good thing. Either way, this aspect continues to make us all uncomfortable enough to find our way to where we're aligned and stop playing victim on both sides, to both take up space where we need to and make space for others where we need to. It's helping us to do both. Now, I'll also acknowledge that with Jupiter in Cancer, also an aspect, it's loose, but it's an opposition to this particular new moon. A part of this process for some in the collective is righting ancestral wrongs. While the imbalance wasn't caused by you, the rebalance is up to you. This is why this 2025, 2026 as a whole, and also this new moon in particular, can feel more consequential. Why you may feel pressure to correct certain structures in your own life pertaining to both sides of the coin, taking up more space so you can thrive, not just survive, and relinquishing more space for others to thrive with you because there is room enough for all of us. Okay? So it's contentious, it's triggering, it is uncomfortable. It's designed to be. It's meant to activate us to change, and that's a good thing. This trine to Uranus, so I've brought it up several times. We've got the new moon trine Uranus. This is where change gets momentum. This aspect acts as an accelerator to everything I've already shared. Structural changes in work, love, money, family, community, they can happen out of nowhere. Even more political and governmental shakeups can appear out of nowhere, overnight, without warning. If all the other aspects are a bonfire, Uranus is the gasoline on that bonfire. If all the other aspects are a Ferrari, Uranus is like putting rocket boosters on that car so that even at max speed, it moves even faster. For some, this is where profound internal change locks in. It moves from awareness to insight to understanding to lived truth and reality all at one time. Change in emotional orientation, change in perspective, change in ideas about the situations you're in. You may get information or have an experience that causes you to see things so radically different that you cannot act or approach things from the same perspective you once did. Radical shifts are opening here, but in particular in love, money, and career work. This is where readiness and opportunity can meet and take your life in a whole new direction in one or three of these areas, all three of these areas. The Uranian influence in neutrality gives us a lot of liberation and freedom, I should say, in light, to try new things, meet new people, and free ourselves from the rigidity of past habits, beliefs, behaviors, worldviews, projects, and goals. You may find that with this influence, that things that were previously worth working towards, they just don't hold the same gravity as they used to. Things that used to feel meaningful now are starting to become insignificant as other more compelling interests take hold. Relationships that have stalled can benefit from surprise actions to sweep someone off their feet now. Just make sure it's not coercively done, like a public proposal that wasn't previously discussed, that sort of thing. But alternatively, meeting someone new and unexpectedly can happen here where you both have that instant chemistry, instant click between each other, and it feels uncanny. Now, fair warning, love that comes and sweeps you off your feet may ultimately be a bit more like an activation than a long-term connection here, where you receive some sort of wake-up call through the interaction rather than it turning into something more. But it turning into something more is plausible. Saturn's in the mix and Saturn's the stabilizer. Saturn's having a hard time stabilizing things with Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto all in the mix, but it could happen. I won't rule it out. Let me know in the comments if that's you. I am so curious. Same with any financial spike in business. It's an in the moment up leveler for sure that allows you to break through on anything challenging you structurally, like a windfall that helps you pay off taxes, or winning on a project at work that puts you on your boss's radar and in line for a promotion, this sort of thing. It's an activation for a new path, but it may not necessarily be the new path itself unfolding yet. For a few, this new path locked in already and happen it will lock in and happen overnight because you've been working with the supporting influences from Saturn and Neptune already for some time. It's been nose to the grindstone since last year. You've been in alignment for this since the beginning to the middle of last year, and now this is the moment where the fruit is ripe to pick. But if that's not the case for you, don't worry. This activation energy is setting you up for your next step as well. This is the moment where you can break a negative loop in a relationship, break a bad habit, and find the impetus to strike out on a healthier path in any area where structure is breaking down or proving unsustainable. Now, for a very, very teensy tiny few, gentle reminder, really good time to take extra precaution if you know you have impetuous people who are quite compulsive in unsafe ways to themselves or to others in your world. With this opposition from Jupiter in Cancer to the new moon's energy, this is where we get the energy of expansion for all of the above. Everything I just said, in some of the most challenging and problematic ways, because it's in opposition to the new moon. So the worst of things, it amplifies them. The best of things, it exaggerates them. And that's not all. Jupiter in Cancer opposite this new moon in Capricorn creates, especially because it's retrograde, an existential emotionality in response to such significant change. Now, whether it's happening now or you just feel something in the water, emotions can run very high in response to this energy. Again, much of this is to assist with catalyzation of new action, to light the proverbial fire under our butts to get on with what needs to shift and take action. And there's a lot of cardinal energy at this new moon. So taking action, taking initiative, starting new things is what we're supposed to be doing. For those who have been impervious to change prior to now, and getting extremely uncomfortable and hoping the energy changes so that you don't have to change. This little new moon right here might just tip the scales and get you moving. For those who have already been in motion, consider this energy a growth spurt, a boost. And for those who are very sensitive to energy, take extra care to do your nervous system regulation, because the emotional intensity with Jupiter opposite this new moon and speaking to everything else, that emotional intensity will be high and have you feeling dysregulated and unable to pinpoint why, just a little fried. So it will be in the ether. Some of it will be from within. Take extra precautions and be gentle with yourself. Another interpretation here is that there could be issues with a mother figure, mothering figures, mothering itself, or within family dynamics now, likely to having to do with money or a chosen career path or a change in the family system. This is a chance to break through systems that have been long-standing, non-working, and develop a new way of bonding and staying connected. So be ready for that. This is a great time to have the necessary conversations. But if you know you're hot-headed and can say things that you often have to retract or apologize for, great time to pay attention to your feelings now and speak much later. The feelings will be intense, but you don't have to let your exchanges and words be intense. If you know that emotions run hot, if when emotions run hot, your mouth runs hot too. But if you know you've been holding back and biting your tongue and repressing what needs to be said, this is where it's not even about having courage. It's just you can't even stop yourself. The words come flying out of you like a freight train, raw and unfiltered because you couldn't hold them back. Know which type of person you are. Take appropriate steps. There is a continuation of a longer term transit closing out addiction and escapism that's been in place since 2024. The off and on sextile relationship between Jupiter and Saturn here, um, it's been here for a while. Um, and now, Jupiter is they're gonna start moving into another formation, but this communication between them, it's really working hard to help those who need to get sober. And we see since even post-pandemic, these two weren't in that kind of conversation, but we see since 2022, 2023, 2024 in particular, the rise of a self-created sobriety movement for, especially for a lot of young people, a lot of Gen Z, some millennials, choosing, like, you know what, I think I don't want to do substances. I really want to figure out how to meet and greet life directly. That is a function of Jupiter and Saturn having been in communication. Neptune's definitely part of the mix. There's a bifurcation in timelines here. If you go the Neptunian route, addiction deepens. If you go the Saturnian route, sobriety ensues. Doing them both, which is also a timeline option, is what facilitates moving out of addiction and into being exercising your visionary capacities, being a visionary and expressing your vision and through action and movement here on earth as they move into the sign of action and movement, that's Aries. Okay. All in all, this new moon is likely to be one of the most important ones of 2026. I was about to say 2027. I'm just skipping years. Likely to be one of the most important ones, marking the line between our old lives and our new lives. At this point, the signs for change have been on the wall for several years. The best thing we can do is keep moving forward, and where we've stalled out, giddy up. This energy is relentless in its pursuit of us getting on our highest timeline. So, signs who are going to feel this new moon the most. Everybody and their mama, all of us. Because this one, because of the aspects from Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto here, and Chiron here, no one is excluded. It's all of us. But if I had to be specific, it's Sun, Moon, Rising, and stelliums in late degrees of Capricorn, early degrees of Aquarius, late degrees of Cancer, early degrees of Leo, late degrees of Aries, early degrees of Taurus, late degrees of Libra, early degrees of Scorpio. Additionally, if you have Sun, Moon, Rising, or stelliums in late degrees of the other earth signs, or early degrees of air signs. You're also going to feel this one poking at you a bit, and poking is a bit of an understatement. So, in other words, yeah, pretty much all of us. So, cheers to us and the best of luck and love to us. Um, I know the odds are in our favor. Now let's have a look at the full moon, the Aquarius full moon that is coming up here momentarily. Just pause this and get that up. Also, like the video, it helps. And I think I misspoke. I believe I said the Aquarius full moon. What I really meant was the full moon in Leo. So here we are, full moon in Leo. It's one of my first impressions of it. Let's see what's going on here. Full moon in Leo, opposite to the sun here. Sun is conjunct Vesta and Venus. Mars and Pluto are conjunct. Not feeling that, but it's not too bad. It can be very productive, like I've said. Um, we see Mercury and Venus conjunct in opposition to the full moon. Mars and Vesta in opposition. And we see Haumea in communication. We see semi-sextile from Jupiter. We see a trine from Ceres. If I had to put my finger on this, this is an energy of these planetary placements. Wow. I don't want to be too optimistic here, but I see some optimism, some reasons for optimism here. One of the main ones really being that I see a level of closure and completion to some of the energies that were more oppressionistic at this particular new moon. I see those, some of those come into close. So I like that. I like that. I love seeing a stellium and the sign of the people and collectives. I love seeing an energy here that speaks to coming together, people working together, power kind of being here. It's like for those of you who are part of unions, who are bargaining for better rights. I know there have been a lot of strikes countrywide in the United States for better rights and better healthcare coverage, let's say for nurses, for example. I do see you being able to win some of what you need here, and I like that. Some closure to some of the oppressive energy. We'll talk more about this when we get there, but it looks good. I don't have the same concerns that I had with the energy that we just spoke about, the Capricorn new moon. There's some, but not quite the same. We're all still collectively gonna be feeling this energy of like go time. And by that time, Neptune has entered Aries, so we might all collectively lose our minds and our identities kind of all at the same time. Nevertheless, I think it'll be fun. Um, I like seeing Saturn speaking in sextile to Mars and Pluto. This tempers these two. It tames them a little bit, and it creates applicable intensity so that it's not just force. So I think there's some really good energies here that can be used constructively. We'll talk about it more when we get there. But this is what I have. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, watching. leaving comments, watching a YouTube ad for at least 30 seconds. It's one of those things that I didn't know this, but after collaborating with Esoterra, really helps me get paid because I have not been getting paid from YouTube at all. But it's one of those things that helps if you do that. Thank you so much for participating in Question of the Day. Thank you for being a longtime subscriber. Thank you for being a new subscriber if you're here newly. I love being able to do this with you every new and full moon, and I am excited about our year ahead. As challenging as it has been out the gate, I do think there are really good things in store for us if we just keep going. I love you guys. Take great care, and bye for now.